And this meeting in particular, as we work back from our Thanksgiving holiday break, if you're like me, you're a little sluggish today with all of the turkey and everything else that we have consumed. So hopefully you are wide awake and energetic for our meeting, our virtual meeting this morning. It's 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please confirm the meeting is being recorded for public posting at the meeting's conclusion.
The meeting is live streamed and recording.
Thank you. And before I begin roll call, I wanted to welcome our new member, Patrick, was it Graveline? Gravlin, thank you, sir, from Washington County Public Schools, representing special education students and staff. So we want to welcome you this morning. We will begin our roll call with our advisory board members. So please respond verbally that you are present when I call your name. So we're going to start with Eric Ebersol. Eric is not here. Karen Bailey. No Karen yet. Dr. Kelly Anderson.
Here.
How you doing, Kelly? Pamela Gaddy. No Pamela yet. Jaquetta Jacobs. No Jaquetta. Natalie Miller.
Here.
How you doing, Natalie? Jennifer Wimbrow Jenkins.
Here.
Doing Jennifer. Sheriff Matthew Christofoli.
Present, sir.
All right. Chief Paul Kiefer.
Here.
How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
All right. And Patrick Graveline, we got you, sir. Welcome again.
Thank you.
Leah Weiss. Leah, no Leah. Laura Moody.
I'm here. Good morning.
How you doing, Laura?
Good.
David Engel.
Good morning, Sonia Clark sitting in for Director Engel this morning.
All right, Sonia, thank you. And we have Zariah Nukov.
Here.
Good morning. Dr. Brittany Patterson. Dr. Patterson. Megan Berger.
Present. Good morning.
Good morning. Daniel Buck.
Here, present.
All right, Daniel. Gina James.
Good morning. Here.
Good morning. Joseph Cormier. Joseph. Sergeant Kevin Britt. Dr. Maria Navarro.
Good morning. Here.
Good morning. And Carol Ellen Johnson. No. All right.
Sorry, I think you called my name, but a kid was walking in.
I got you. I got you.
Sorry about that.
All right. All right. So welcome, Ms. Johnson. Just want to please confirm we have a quorum.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, we do have a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. The last meeting of our advisory board was in October. The October meeting was recorded, and that recording is available on the MCSS website. As such, there are no meeting minutes to be approved. Are there any additions to today's agenda? All right, no additions for the agenda. All right, motions to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
All right, Dr. Navarro approves. Second, anyone second that?
Second, Laurel Moody.
All right, Laura moves second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. The agenda for today is approved. All right, so we will start today's meeting with a review of the 2025 Annual Performance Report, recently approved by the School Safety Subcabinet at the November meeting. Ms. Buckheit will be walking us through the report for our information. Thank you, Ms. Buckheit. You can go ahead and begin.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Aaron, if you could take over sharing, please. So in the email sort of reminder to give you the Zoom link this morning also, so you didn't have to search for it, I attached a PDF of the APR for you to look at as well. Here we are. All right, so go ahead, Aaron, next page. So our APR always starts with a message from our chair. So Dr. Wright is the chair of the School Safety Subcabinet, and we appreciate all of her effort supporting us. Next slide. The APR this year, we looked at, so last year, if you can remember, was the first year we used the software package called Flipping Book. So it allows us to actually get some digital analytics to look at what pages particular people are going to at a higher volume, the number of folks who are actually coming to review the APR for us. So sort of based on those analytics, we made some adjustments this year, primarily to make it shorter. So we actually removed some of the digital or some of the visual content and really condensed the report so that you'll see each program is really featured on just one page. So we're embedding some of the data that links to those as well. So in this intro slide allows you to see what each of these program pages will look like. So it'll be the title of the program in the gray box, roughly when the program began, when it was established, if there is a either legislative or regulatory reference that guides that program, and then the hot link that would take them to the specific page on the MCSS website is all kind of embedded in that top piece. And then the page is divided by quarters. So the top quarter just above the first red line is a really quick sort of description of what the program is. And then the second and third quarter are the information from the 2025 school year. So that's where you'll see some of the data embedded and specifics in terms of efforts in 2025. Inside of here in our intro, you'll see these 4 icons that represent the 4 layers that we've been really pushing forward in 2025 related to the layered approach, comprehensive approach to school safety. So safety, security, emergency preparedness, connections, and culture climate. Those icons then translate to each of the program pages. So you'll see at the top of a program page which one of those icons the program really helps to reinforce or promote. So there'll be a couple pages where you'll see all 4 icons. A lot of the pages you'll see 1 or 2 icons. And then the bottom quarter, the bottom fourth, below the red line again, is just as we look to the future. So as we look to 2026, kind of how will this program continue to expand going forward, and any sort of new efforts on the horizons as it relates to the program. So this intro page kind of helps to guide the viewer for the rest of the document. Next page, Aaron. The accomplishments page, these next two pages look very similar from year to year. So we really, in a very high level, feature our 2025 accomplishments. So the anonymous reporting system, behavior threat assessment work, the conference, the SRO SSE training academy expansion. And then we actually, so this expansion of programs and partnerships one in the bottom left, just does a quick sort of bulleted list of some new programs that folks will see in this report, and then our coordinated emergency preparedness efforts. So all of these will also be expanded in more detail within the report. Next page. And then we look to our 2026 priorities. So this is, these should look very familiar to everybody. These 4 areas were areas that in our May workshop, you all really helped to begin to mold. So school-based violence prevention. So as we look going forward this next year, to ways to capitalize and further define what school-based violence prevention looks like in Maryland. The anonymous reporting system, we'll talk a little bit about this later in this meeting, but looking to actually codify the existence of anonymous reporting across the state. The coordinated emergency response preparedness, so to continue to try to advance to get all 24 of our LEAs adopting the I love you guys protocols in words, and then digital safety. So as you all helped us to mold to look at how that is a new sort of area for us to continue to expand and really work a little more within this year. So next page. So the content you'll actually see has been very condensed, if you remember from last year. So we really just have programs and resources, engagement, and then administration elements. Next page. So this is where all of our programs and resources. So the digital version of this flipping book that will live on the website is very interactive. So each one of these is a hot link. And we actually saw in the analytics, people were doing that. So as they came to this page, people were actually clicking on a particular page they wanted to go to. We saw that folks weren't necessarily flipping through the whole thing. They were actually going to pages. And to that end, is how we then prioritize the order. So we did see in last year's analytics that the Safe Schools Maryland tip line was the page that was most viewed. So we sort of front loaded those items that were there. We also by order so as we went to our accomplishments and our priorities page, sort of made sure the order sort of matched that as well. So next page. So here's where you see what we were saying, right? So the title, in the gray box, sort of the reference where you can find it, and then the icon represented in the middle third. The middle portion is where you see the analytics for this, and then the graphics. So in 2025, so we've consistently over reports done a comparison, just a 2-year comparison. With the tip line data. So as folks compare the 2025 sort of data, and we do it by school year for the tip line to the previous school year, to look at the number of tips and what categories were most used. And then as we look to 2026, this is where we really are going to be working probably a lot of time devoted to the next legislative session, answering questions and testifying and working with legislators to try to pass that bill. Next page. So behavior threat assessment is, again, references that you see. So working with our LEAs, so meeting with each of our LEAs individually to just kind of do a pulse check on where they were, which really will allow us to sort of customize support and resources to each LEA. So there are definitely LEAs that are very advanced in their implementation of BTA practices, and some that are still on the earlier side of implementing. So it allows us to really customize what that looks like for our 24 systems across the state. Next page. Our conference that you see. So this is where you see all 4 icons represented. So data for this number of participants that attended, the number of sessions. We highlight the SRO of the year. This was the first year that we recognized that program, and have a nice feature for our Howard County representative. And the art showcase, which then is just a quick thumbnail of those winning items. And then the bottom portion are our dates for this next year for folks. Next page. The SRO security personnel page. So in 2025, there was expansion. So what was new, you see in the 3rd paragraph, was that this year we started to deliver a continuing education virtual experience for those SRO SSEs that had already participated in the initial training academy. So you see the analytics, that was a large number of individuals engaging in that effort this year. Also on this page, you see the required reports analytics. So hot links to the incident of force report and the adequate coverage report live here. The visual represents the number of schools that have a full-time assigned SRO, so 277. And then 1,145 schools are actually covered through the adequate coverage. So this is a good page where you see where the data is sort of embedded in the page. Next slide. The grant administration, lots of numbers. So here we feature which grants in 2025 were available and the amount of money that was distributed for each of those grants. Those hot links take you to the specific grant page on the website if folks had more, want more information related to them. And then in the bottom portion of this page, we there will be 5 grant programs next year, a couple of which will be new. So going into for the 25-26 school year, the school facility mapping grant will be new. And then coming available in September 2026 is the Secure Schools Emergency Response Grant Program. Next slide. Our emergency planning. So this page has lots and lots of data. We speak to the sort of requirement of reports from locals about the number of school hours that was spent engaging in emergency drills. And then the number of hours that were spent in a real world incident, and the number of threats. So a variety of data points that sometimes folks are very interested in. We also embedded the I Love You Guys protocols here. So again, really elevating the words, the nomenclature, as we say it, right, related to emergency response protocols. The hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate. And again, the 2026 effort is to bring on board all 24 LEAs to the I Love You Guys protocol. Next slide. So this lessons learned page really speaks to the critical life-threatening incidents. So there were 25 CLT reports for the 24-25 school year. And then those lessons learned, as we looked at all 25 of them in a sort of comprehensive fashion, is what really then also helped to drive those priority areas that you helped us to better define as well in that meeting. Next slide. You've heard about the active assailant lockdown drill stuff a couple of times in these meetings. So here on this page, we just feature with some hot links some of the resources that are available and the work that has happened in 2025, which was a lot, right? So the guidelines, the technical report, what we've started to learn from the survey as well for folks. So as we go into 2026, we'll be in year 2 of this survey technical research study, and really are looking to have data from all 24 jurisdictions in year 2. We had, just as a reminder, we had 6 jurisdictions represented in that first year of the report. Next slide. So the coordinated statewide preparedness, this is really the exercises, the tabletop exercises and statewide exercises that we've been conducting now for, I guess, 2 years. One of the things to sort of highlight for 2025 is we brought on board an opportunity for private schools to also participate in a TTX that we supported. So in August, previous year, we had made it available for our non-public special education schools. And this year we duplicated that non-public event for private schools. So we made them on 2 separate days because they definitely have 2 very unique kind of needs and circumstances. So this was the first year in 2025 where we hosted a event and invited all private schools to participate. The Are We Ready on our webpage is still one of the, other than the Safe Schools Maryland tip line, is still one of our most active web pages we get. And so we included the analytics for that. We get lots of folks coming to download TTXs from not just in Maryland, but kind of across the nation as well. So continue to refine these elements as well in 2026. Next slide. Our students, love our students. We've been getting lots of, so Zaria is our representative to this board. Gavin represents students within the subcabinet. Next year, what will happen as Zaria moves on at the end of this school year to bigger and brighter and better things, Gavin will move into her spot. They have been getting lots of requests to actually do a presentation on social media, kind of digital media sources, impact on students and how students are sort of navigating that. So have been really happy this year, the sort of demand for our students to represent. Next slide. And this page really highlights our comprehensive approach. So in 2025, again, we really did sort of define what the layers are for school safety and really started to allow folks to be able to identify and to some degree maybe audit their practices, right? Do you have sort of this balance across layered approaches? Which will continue to be our efforts going into 2026 to provide some additional tools for folks to consider that balance within their school, within their system. Next slide. Handle with Care, although not a new program. So if the board recalls, maybe 2 years ago, we had a presentation to everybody related to Handle with Care. In the past, GoCap was sort of owning this program. That got transitioned over to, it's a joint effort now between MCSS and MSDE. So in 2025, really sort of reinvigorated the program, have engaged with all of the local jurisdictions. So you see currently 20 are reporting data, are using the program and reporting the number of Handle with Care. So this data table indicates kind of the number of reports in the 24-25 school year. Next slide. Transportation safety was sort of, although we've been doing this from the very sort of beginning of MCSS inception, in 2025, we did produce some new items that spoke to parents understanding what the law is related to buses, that parents are not allowed to board a bus. It is actually illegal. So we created a one-page infographic that locals can distribute to help reinforce that. and then created 2 pages. One is for bus drivers, so an item to that can be used with your bus drivers related to safety on the bus, as well as for things that are happening on the outside of the bus. And a 2-page that really spoke to getting to school. So some tips for students when they're on a bus, when they're riding a bike, when they're walking, and tips for parents to kind of help navigate those things safely. And then, so for 2026, some of our continuing to partner with our traffic safety study and looking at using data to help inform practices. Next slide. So the integrated preparedness plan, we have not had this in the APR in the past, but this actually 3 years ago, roughly, we did our first integrated preparedness plan. And we redid that. What was important, I think, for us to highlight was the manner in which we went about that in 2025. So we engaged, MCSS engaged individually with all of these different partner agencies who have a touch point to safety in some way, and really asked them to think about what priorities they have, how it can connect to safety, ways that they can help us elevate safety. Through that work, these 5 areas were defined by this collaborative state group to look at us working together to sort of elevate school safety in these different spaces. Next slide. So that sort of concludes the programs, resources element. We move into engagement. Next slide. So the committees that MCSS is represented, so school safety having a voice on a variety of different committees that occur across the state. Next slide. Communication engagement. So this is kind of all the different places where MCSS is sort of represented, whether it's a booth as an exhibit or whether it's actually doing a professional training session at a conference workshop. Next slide. Engagement, some of our engagement numbers. So our social numbers, the number of followers, you should all receive your Gov Delivery newsletters once a month, but we use Gov Delivery honestly as our primary form of communication. So roughly close to 3,000 subscribers there that we have a direct link to. And then the web page analytics snapshot at the bottom is of interest to folks. So the 54 seconds is the amount of time that a person is on our page. So pretty good. We're not seeing a giant, what we would call a bounce rate, where somebody goes there and they say, oh, that's not what I want, and they leave. They're staying there long enough that they're finding a resource content that they're clicking or going to. So pretty happy with that. We get a pretty nice number of visits, and then the graphs in the middle are which pages the visitors are going to. So again, using data to kind of help inform where we continue to build up and add content, right? What are folks looking for? As well as what are some items maybe that we need to add more content to bring visitors to. And then I found the bottom, I find it all interesting, but how people find MCSS. So roughly 18,000. So the majority are going directly to the MCSS website, which says they know who we are. They're looking for the Maryland Center for School Safety. The Google search is somebody's going in. So actually, the first one would almost indicate to me they have it bookmarked potentially also, right? So they're going directly there. The Google search is somebody's going into Google, either searching for MCSS or searching Maryland in school safety or something that's taking us there. The LEA webpage was a higher one than what we anticipated. So LEA's linking MCSS on their web pages directly for some things, and folks are going so they're bouncing from like Anne Arundel County Public Schools webpage to MCSS. Next slide. So this is our just nice promotional again for our SSMD website. Next slide. It's just then our administration, not just, but you'll see next slide, our subcabinet representatives. Next slide are all of you, our advisory board. Next slide is actually the MCSS as an org chart. Within Flipping Book, this org chart will be interactive. So if you were to click on Kate, what will pop up is a nice little bio of Kate, very brief. So if folks are interested to kind of take a look at the MCSS team, they can do so. And last slide is just the team with reminders of the upcoming conference. There we go. Sorry, I didn't go as fast as I thought I would go. So my apologies, I took more time.
That is a lot of information. So I think you went through it way quicker than I probably would have. But there's a lot of great information, and I also enjoy the visuals at the end of the entire team. I don't know who took the photos, but the photos look fantastic.
And actually, Mr. Brown, before I move you on, I want to pass it to Kate real quick for any kind of concluding remarks on the APR or the 2025 year.
Yeah,
Sure.
thanks, Kim. So that I have to say, this is probably my favorite time of year because it's the time that we get to highlight all of the fantastic work that the team has been doing, not just this year, but over the course of the last 7 years. They really have stepped up to when we started back in 2018. There was really just a sort of legislative structure about what the agency was to do, what the responsibilities are, and what the sort of requirements that had to get accomplished were. And over the last 7 years, they have done an incredible job of meeting every mandate, improving every program, and as Kim mentioned throughout the document, using data to make decisions about where programs go in the future. So I think that's a really an incredible view into the work of the team. And I also want to mention that a lot of this work that we do couldn't have been done without many of you, because many of you participated in the development of a lot of this work. So we really do thank all of you. We thank all of our local partners, our private and non-public special education facilities, our subcabinet. We really just thank everyone for all of the fantastic collaboration and coordination that we've had over the last 7 years. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, again, kudos to the entire team. It takes a total team effort, and as you all see, it's a lot of work that goes into it, and it can't be more professionally done. So I appreciate all of you. Are there any questions for Ms. Buckheit or Ms. Bryan related to the 2025 performance report? All right, seems to be no questions. So we will move forward to our next agenda item. The next item on our agenda, Ms. Bryan will provide us with an update on progress toward meeting House Bill 782, weapon detection systems requirements. Ms. Bryan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Aaron or Kim, do you have the slides ready?
My apologies, I wasn't sharing. Didn't transition. Hang on.
All right. So I'm just going to go over, we've done this before, but I'm just going to run through sort of the requirements of House Bill 782, which was passed last legislative session. Talk a little bit about the work that's happened over the last, give or take 8 months, and then talk about what the plans are for 2026. So House Bill 782, which is now Chapter 244, passed in 2025, was a study required us to conduct a study on detecting deadly weapons in public middle and high schools. So over the last year, we have worked with some of our local school systems as well as state partners to really sort of figure out how to parse out the project. It required an interim report in year 1 and a final report in year 2. So I'll just sort of walk through what that delineation looks like. So it required us to study how best to detect deadly weapons in middle and high schools, and then report that detection to law enforcement. It required us to evaluate current security infrastructure, and it was required that we actually meet with LEAs to accomplish this. Next slide. So specifically when it was discussing evaluation, it was referring to widely accepted methods that were not currently used, although we also are highlighting methods that are already in use within our school systems. So the evaluation of their feasibility, their ability to adapt for faster and better detection, their ability to integrate with other softwares, including cameras and other security systems. There was also a requirement for us to discuss the increased use of cameras and their ideal placement, as well as an increased use of metal detectors. In addition to sort of all of this evaluation, we were also required to gather and collect available assessments of systems for efficacy, bias, data ownership, privacy, scope of use, and risk management. I will note that there's a provision in the law that protects very specific school or school system data from being published. So none of that data that is specific to an individual school or school system will be made publicly available. Next slide. So this was the timeline for the project. So we are at the December 2025 timeframe. So the report is actually due today. We have some final data that we're in the middle of validating, just to ensure that what we publish later today is as accurate as we believe it can be. So that report will go out this afternoon before the close of business, so by the deadline. And then the rest of the project really focuses on beginning in January through December of next year. And that's where we do some additional evaluation assessment, which I'll talk about. Next slide. So the first year, what did we do? The first year, we developed a survey that we provided to all 24 school systems that really asked them what systems they're currently using to detect weapons, what technology, what systems they're using currently. In the event they were not using a system, we also asked them follow-up questions about any system or technology that they were considering, and some information about that. And then once we had both that data, all of that data collected, we then met individually with all 24 LEAs to sort of clarify some of the information that they provided. Next slide. So what happens next year? So next year is the bulk of the work. So we're going to do some exploration, some evaluation, and then ultimately provide some recommendations. We have partnered with some subject matter experts. We have also identified some state and local representatives to sort of serve as our subject matter experts as we go through the next year. But we're going to be doing exploration of additional security measures, particularly ones that are available or being used in other systems throughout the nation, but may not be being used in Maryland. We're going to be looking at ways to adapt systems so that they can better detect deadly weapons and streamline reporting. We're going to be looking at technology integration, how the different systems can integrate with existing systems, or how new systems can integrate with existing systems. optimal usage, both of security cameras and potentially an increased use of metal detectors at school entrances. And then finally, the technical assessment, which will include those gathered evaluations where we really look at the other factors, right? The efficacy of these systems and technology, any sort of bias that exists, how the data is owned, the privacy of the system and the data, the scope of use of those systems, and then risk management. So those again are all of the requirements of 782. So year one was really focused on what is happening now, what are the school systems using now, how is it being used, how many individuals does it take to man these systems, what do they cost? So that's sort of step one. The first year's report, again, will not include any specifics. It also doesn't include any vendor names. All of it talks about the type of system, but not identify particular vendors. All of that will happen in year two's study. And that report will be published December 1st of 2026. And I believe that's maybe the last slide. So open it up for questions on the project. Again, that'll publish later today. We'll have it sent out to both committees, the Senate committee, the House committee, as well as the president and the speaker.
Thank you, Kate. Like you said before, any questions on this House Bill 782? I think Dr. Navarro, your hand's up.
Hi, good morning again. I just had a quick question. Are you guys going to, I know you're working obviously with our heads of safety and security for the school systems, but the system adaptations, are we also working with our IT folks on this? Just curious what the integration component looks like.
Yes, so our Chief Information Officer will be coordinating on the IT side, while they're also coordinating on the sort of the technical side. So not just the software side, cybersecurity side, but also the technical side. So the short answer is yes.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Kate. Along with everybody else, I think I'm looking for, we might have something in the chat. Hold on. So Leah says this would be interesting to see what different school systems are doing. In my county, we've had 2 incidents in my 2 school-based health center schools that involve security systems. Nothing there was a weapon that ended up not being a weapon, was traumatic for one of the students involved, I can imagine. So yeah, Lee, I think all of us that are on school-based level, local LEAs, this is very, very interesting stuff. And I love to find out once sessions are held and once everything is cut and dry, what actually comes out of it, because I think it definitely impacts schools directly. So we don't have any other questions. We'll move forward to the last agenda item. Our last item for December meeting is the MCSS priorities for the upcoming 2026 legislative session. Ms. Bryan and Ms. Buckheit will share information in preparation for the upcoming session. So Kim and Kate, you could take it away.
Yep. So yes, Kate and I watch bills that are dropped every day. So that gets put onto both of our schedules. Every morning begins with a review of bills. Sometimes it takes an hour. Sometimes it could take half the day to read through and look at new filings that happen every day. I mean, part of our, and I'll ask Kate to sort of chime in, is that we really look to differentiate when a bill will directly impact kind of a school safety area directly, either definitely if we're named, identified in the bill, MCSS, to do something. For us to look at what that would, what the requirements within that are, and for us to decide whether we're providing a letter of information, whether it makes sense for us to work directly, potentially with the bill sponsor on some language, some words choice that's within it, some mays, some shalls. We work really closely with MSDE often. You'll see a lot of bills sort of touch both of us in different ways. Sometimes there can be confusion, right? Something that's directed to the department that should be with the center is how bills really define the two of us, or something that's said to be with the center that in reality should probably fall with the department. So we can sometimes help with that. But so we have decisions always whether to do a letter of information, excuse me, whether to do written testimony, oral testimony for a bill, or whether to be quiet on some things also. So I don't know, Kate, if you want to elaborate anything on that before I go to sort of our priorities.
No, I think you covered it well.
Okay. So in the past year, this is where the sort of layered approach to school safety, actually, I'm going to slip to this, has sort of come up in the last few years. So when we have seen bills that have either devoted a large amount of money to just one layer of school safety, potentially at the expense of another layer, those have been times where we have sometimes done a letter of information to allow folks, when they're considering this bill, to consider it in the larger scheme of how it may impact the local, right? So if a local has to make a decision budgetarily to do one thing, are they taking it from another pot of money? Is that we want folks to be aware of those kind of larger sort of unintended consequences sometimes within a bill, as well as to elevate, right? There have been many bills that we have been excited about to try to elevate a layer that maybe has not always been given enough attention in the past as well. So so this is where we've been able, we use that term often in our letter of information and in our testimony, layered approach to school safety. And for us to continue to define that for our legislators, what that means, what that looks like. So our priority, what we intend to do this year, is for the first time to actually publish just a very simple one-page to legislators around. The top part is just MCSS. This is what we are, because we still every once in a while find that folks may not know about the center. So to make sure people know the center exists and this is the work that happens at the center. And then this is what school safety should look like, right? These layers. So for us to explain to them what these layers are, and that we would, be it letter of information or testimony, one way or the other, related to efforts, bills that reinforce these different efforts along the way. Let me go back and then to our codifying the anonymous reporting system. Actually, Kate, I'll maybe throw it to you if you want to give a little bit of history around maybe MCSS or SSMD, sort of how it came to be, and that it exists, but there's nothing that necessarily right now says in law that it exists.
Sure. So in 2018, right after the passage of the Safe to Learn Act, and those of you that have been on the advisory board since 2018 already know this. Those of you that are new, it's a good way to sort of understand where it evolved from. So after the passage of the Safe to Learn Act in 2018, there was really a desire and a need within the state to have a single program that could serve as an anonymous reporting system for the state. So the MCSS at the time, we were incredibly small. We were literally when this idea came about in the summer, MCSS was 2 individuals doing their best to get all of the things that were required started before even staff were hired. So the idea of MCSS at the time being able to run an anonymous reporting system program or get one set up was incredibly challenging. So at the time we partnered with the Maryland Department of Emergency Management. At the time it was the Emergency Management Agency. Those of you that don't know, the Department of Emergency Management has a 24/7 watch center. So it serves as an all-hazard watch center throughout the state for any incident impacting any jurisdiction in the state. So the MCSS, we partnered with MDEM. I was actually with MDEM at the time. MDEM's MJAC started the anonymous reporting system. We got in partnership with Do It, MCSS, State Police, the MCAC, and MDEM. We identified a system or a technology that could be used. We got the system set up. We established it. We got 24 school systems participating. And since that time, we have also added non-public special education facilities as well as private schools. And I think the most important thing for our local school systems, as well as our public and non-public special education schools, is that the system is free to them to use. So we take on the Safe Schools Maryland as part of our operating budget. Our team runs the program itself. And I say team, remember MCSS is small. So it's literally one person with an extra person sort of helping out from time to time. So it is still answered by the Joint Operations Center at MDEM on a 24/7, 365 basis. We still have multiple ways for individuals to report. Is still used by all 24 school systems, by private schools, and by our non-public special education facilities throughout the state. We do not currently have any higher ed institutions in the system, nor at this time do we plan to. So the first goal is really to ensure that the system remains and that we can continue to support it, both programmatically as well as operationally. And so that first step is really to codify that the system or similar systems exist throughout the 24 school systems.
Yeah, so we actually went about writing a departmental bill. So the MCSS team worked together to actually develop the bill language and to sort of be very specific about some decisions here. So number one, that it establishes that Maryland has an anonymous reporting system available 24/7, 365. It requires that an LEA, that every public school system utilize a system. Does not have to be the Safe Schools Maryland. It can be their own system. We do have a couple of our LEAs that have their own existing system. So the language in the bill would allow for that to continue to occur. And what we had indicated, the language is just that they operate a similar system. So basically that anyone in the state of Maryland has access to a method by which to report something of concern. And I want to just a little segue that this is really important, that there's actual research and evidence nationally, internationally, of the importance of anonymous reporting systems to keep schools safe. So this isn't just sort of a state sort of initiative. We are part of a movement across the country of there being law that requires schools to be able to make this available to individuals. Within the bill language also, it indicates that MCSS will develop guidelines related to the operation, the procedures and operational elements of the system. And it protects the data from the system. So part of what research indicates is the importance of it being anonymous, that individuals are more likely to report a concern when they know they will be anonymous in doing so. So, implied within the anonymous is also that data is then can't be, FOIA'd as well to be able to indicate who or what. So there is language of protecting the data. Anything else in the bill, Kate, that we have there that you want to speak to before we do questions?
No, those are the big ones, the guidelines and the protection of the data.
Mhm. All right, so I think that concludes our discussion on priorities, Mr. Brown, if you want to do questions.
Sure, we'll go right into questions. Thanks, Kate and Kim. I think Dr. Navarro has her hand up, so we'll take that.
I guess I'm in the questioning mode today. Do we have anybody that, any pinpoint legislators that you're thinking about moving the bill through already?
We do. We have a couple, but if you have suggestions, we're happy to hear them.
Just curious, the jurisdiction representation will be important for support, that's all.
Delegate Ebersol, would you like to say anything? We have approached him directly. Go ahead.
Sorry, if there's background noise, I'm sorry. I'm sitting in the airport getting ready to take a flight. Yeah, thanks. I know that you two have brought it before me. We have it in for drafting. We're working on see if we can find a senator who might like to cross-file this bill. To that end, we're looking around. But the bill is in for drafting now, so I'm excited to be, since I hang out with all of you, to be the one to kind of be the champion of it here. So there you go.
And we appreciate you.
All right, any other questions as it pertains to the 2026 legislative session? All right, the next advisory board meeting will be in the new year on February 2nd from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season. Please don't hesitate to contact Ms. Bryan or Ms. Buckheit with any questions or items that need attention before the February meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, sir.
All right. And do we have a second?
I can second. Lee Weiss.
Thank you, Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
All right. Any abstentions? All right, that concludes our meeting today. Thank you, everybody. Please enjoy the rest of your day and holiday season. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Thank you.